Hi, I'm Steve Wilkes with Basic Brewing Video, and I'm here today with our friend Sean Paxton at the National Homebrewers Conference. Sean's the homebrew chef. Very famous guy. He's going to tell us about brining. He's going to tell us about the banquet itself and how he's pairing all these foods up today with wonderful beers.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
Well, this is going to be real fun because basically doing the National Homebrew Conference and working with the AHA, it's just a whole lot of fun because Rogue sponsors this event. So I'm able to work with John and Stacy Meyer and actually able to go through their whole lineup of beers and beers that aren't even out yet and beers that they're going to be featuring and actually be able to incorporate these flavors into the food. So what we did is we actually did a brine to actually brine our chicken because to start thinking about a whole entire dish and all the different flavors that we were going to do. One of the beers that they had in their product lineup that I thought was very food friendly was the John Juniper Pale Ale. So you start to think about a beer that's actually dry hopped as like a pale ale with juniper berries. What a great flavor profile.
No kidding. Now tell me what brining does for the meat.
Sure.
Why you'd want to do that.
So what brining does is that it basically replaces the natural juice of a chicken because, meat is, 75, 85% water, outside of all the fibers and when you start to look at meat in itself, there's no flavoring. And when you put salt on something, you put it just on the outside, which makes a nice crust for searing and whatnot. And it works great, but in a large setting, it's very little forgiveness if you make mistakes.
Yeah.
So this is not only a way to inherit or make sure that there's no mistakes made, but actually infusing and changing the flavor of the chicken and enhancing it, morphing it into something completely different.
Now, I got a chance to taste a couple of bites of the chicken in the test batch. And
exactly.
I got some really nice bay leaf, some sage, some orange. Tell me about the recipe and tell me how those flavors are picked up in the brine.
Definitely. So right here, basically everybody can do this at home. I just did it on a much larger scale. This is a combination of we started with 6 gallons of water. And then with that, we added in 11 quarts of salt.
Woo!
So that's like almost 3 gallons of salt.
Yeah, up here they say oofta.
Oofta.
Yeah.
Oofta.
Oofta.
So that we also added in 15 pounds of honey, as well as about 12 cups of sugar.
So you get the sweet and the sour
sweet
going?
And the salt.
The salt.
Okay. And that right there is going to add as the buffer to actually start infusing all those flavors in. Now, in order to make this into a brine, we're actually adding in some water. So with that 6 gallons of water, we added in 90 oranges that were cut in half. We added in 2 pounds of bay leaves. We added in 2 pounds of fresh sage. And then we added in 2 pounds of cracked pepper. And then basically with all that, we had brought that all to a simmer with 8 pounds of shallots. And we let that simmer for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
This is going to flavor everything. It's going to sanitize everything. It's going to make it so that the salt is completely dissolved and it's a cohesive flavor. That way you're not going to get flavor spots.
Right.
And the other thing is that now you have blended all these flavors, and then we can add the beer, which has been cold, so we're not even cooking the beer. And since beer is at a much lower alcohol content, we don't have to worry about it actually cooking the food like a ceviche.
Right.
Wine, sometimes that happens. At 14%, it can actually start to pickle things. And so a lot of chefs will actually simmer the wine first, then chill it, then use it for a brine or a marinade. But with beer, we don't have to worry about that unless we're using a big giant imperial stout. So here we have the chicken breasts that have been soaked or brined for, it depends on what it is, if it's pork, if it's chicken, if it's turkey, how thick it is, the size it is. And it's been sitting in this brine for about 12 hours, 15 hours. And we're basically pulling it out and we're going to dry it off, rinse that brine off. And depending if you want it a little bit more salty, don't wash it off, leave it on. Let that flavor go right into it. Or take it off and then sear it. You could grill it, you can braise it, you could do a lot of different things with it.
So once you brined it, you can use the product any way you want.
Oh, totally. So the whole idea of brining is actually to give a lot more flavor. It's infusing all those flavors that you took, and Juniper Pale Ale has a great base. It has some bitterness. It has some other complexities that when we're layering this with a lingonberry sauce that will be made with a red ale, you start to think about the components of a red ale. You have the toast, you have that little hint of roast, you have that nice dark, maltiness. You have, but not in a dried fruit kind of way, like with a double or a quad.
Right.
And so you're going to have that bitterness too. And the bitterness with the combination of the lingonberries as a tart, it's going to be some really nice flavors going on. And so that's why we use the orange and the bay leaf and the juniper to be really key components, along with some of that bitterness actually in the meat. Because chicken, it's kind of sweet when you eat it. It's not very strong. It's a very neutral flavor. I mean, come on. Everything tastes like chicken, right?
Everything tastes like chicken.
So
how will this dish be presented on the plate? What's going to be on the plate?
So we have a hazelnut brown ale infused into a wild rice. Since we're in Minnesota, we wanted to play up the whole concept of, it's local. We wanted to do something specific for this conference.
That's great.
We're taking that rice and that will go on the plate. Then we'll have 2 separate chicken breasts, and then we'll have this lingonberry red ale sauce over the top.
Well, I can't wait for this meal. I really appreciate your time today talking to us about brining. When you get home and you want to try something to get your meat a little juicier, try brine.
Yes, and you can do it not only with chicken, but pork, turkey, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Come and visit us on the web. At basicbrewing.com, you can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Introduction to Extract Home Brewing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and our latest edition, Introduction to Wine Kits. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to james@basicbrewing.com, steve@basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.